Welcome back to the Crafty Author. So today we're going to work on something that is my least favorite part about quilting. So what we're going to do today is we're going to work on the backing. And what we have to do for this quilt is we need to piece it. Typically what I do is I buy the 108 inch by 108 inch backing so that I don't have to piece backing. But in this case, I am going to have to do that. So I have the camera centered away so that you can actually see the quilt and how I'm going to measure this out. So we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to show you the fabric that I chose for this. I'm really excited. It's super cute. And this is it. So this is what we're going to use for our backing. And so I'm going to show you how I measure this out. Now, this quilt is 54.5 by 68. So I needed 4.5 yards for the backing. That allows 6 inches on each side for quilting. And we are going to free motion quilt on this quilt. So I had to think about that for a while. How I was going to quilt this. Normally, you can do it with just straight lines and follow along in the squares, but I decided that doing like a stippling stitch would be awesome, so I can show you how I do it. I am not the greatest free motion quilter in the world, so please forgive me, but I'm going to show you how I do it, and I hope you enjoy it. So I'm going to go over here real quick and show you how we're going to measure this out. And then I'm going to take it to the ironing board. Well, first I'm going to cut it, and then I'm going to iron the pieces, and then I will show you how we lay this out. Okay, so let's get started. So I'm just going to take this big long strip. Now this is folded in half, okay? Now, if you do this a different way, that's fine. This is just how I'm going to do this, okay? Yes, I know it's on the ground. So, I am going to place it up here. That looks like it's about 6 inches from there. And about 6 inches over. And I'm just using my quilt wall kind of as my guide right now. So about to here is going to give me enough. So all I'm going to do here is I am going to fold this in half, because now I know how big my length is. I'm going to take a clip to mark it so that I'll know that that's half. And now all I'm going to do is straighten this out just a tad, okay? And I can see here that this is where I am going to make my cut. Right here, because this is where I'm pretty even. I'm going to go ahead and mark this with a clip. You do not have to do that, but I'm going to just do it for this sake. So now I'm going to cut it, and then I'm going to iron it, and then I'll show you how I piece it. All right, I'm at my cutting board here, and I'm just going to take my straight ruler, and I'm going to go to where I marked it with my little clip, and I am going to just line up here a little bit more because I'm going to have plenty for the binding. The rest of this will be for our binding. I'm just going to take my rotary blade, and I'm just going to go ahead and cut this. So now we can fold this up and put it aside. Okay, just going to fold this and put it aside. Oh, and I wanted to show you also So the quilt that I had worked on last week was a baby quilt, and this little sucker gave me the hardest time, but I finally got it to work. I don't know what it was about this baby quilt, but man, was it tough. I've never had a quilt give me so many problems, and it was all the binding. I've done binding on hundreds of quilts. Never really had an issue, but this is the quilting that I did. I just did straight lines in the squares and then intersected, and it turned out so cute. So the back is flannel, little flannel flowers, and the front was a Riley Blake charm pack. I used 2 of them, and then I just quilted around the quilt. So I did want to share that with you, so I'm glad I remembered to do that, because I often forget. So I just got this one set aside. All right, back to our project. So I've gone ahead and I've cut that off. Now I think I'm going to cut another, just a little bit more, just so it's straight, because we have some pieces that are not. So I'm just going to cut that off. So now our edge is straight here. I'm going to flip this around, and then that point where we folded it in half, this doesn't have to be perfect, because remember, we have a 6-inch we have 6 inches on each side that we're going to use. So if you're a little short or a little longer, that's perfectly okay. So I'm just going to take our clip out. I'm going to just use my fingernail to kind of mark my spot. I'm going to straighten this out. Okay, just straighten that out. I know you can't see my line, but I can see the line, and it is right here. That's our center. Should close that up. I don't want an accident here where I cut up all my fingers. It's a really good habit to get into, to close your rotary cutter. And we're going to cut on this 19-inch line right here. And I'm just lining up on my mat for this. I'm going to hold this down really, really sturdy. I'm going to make a cut. Okay, so now we have our 2 pieces cut in half. And now I'm going to cut the selvage edges off as well, because I don't want those hanging around. You can see the selvage edge. And I'm just going to fold this in half. And you can prepare this any way you want. This is just how I do it. It's probably why it's my least favorite. And then I'm going to fold it again just to make it a little easier to do. Make sure that I'm pretty straight here. This will just make it a little easier to cut in this direction. And I'm just going to, I want to make sure I'm going to grab all of it. And it looks like I will. So this is going to be a good cut here. Okay, so that one's done. We have no more selvage edge. It's all cut off. So now we need to do the same thing to this piece. Okay. Just gonna do the same thing. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna cut this, and then I'm gonna press it, and I'll be right back. Okay, so now we're at the sewing machine, and I've got everything set up. So I am going to be, I've got our 2 pieces. They're nice sides together, and all I'm going to do is stitch 1/4 inch all the way down. Now I am using a smaller stitch just so that this will stay in place, because we don't want this to come undone. And so I'm just going to get started, and I'm just going to put my fabric down here, and I'm going to just start sewing. So I'm right down to the end here, and I am just going to continue to finish sewing the backing together. And we are done. Okay. So I've got the 2 pieces sewn together. You can see that right there. And now I'm going to take it to the iron, and I am going to iron the seam open so that it will lay, so that it will lay flat. If I can do this. Why am I having problems today? Open. Just gonna iron them open. I'm not going to iron them to one side or the other, just going to iron it flat open, and that way it will lay nice and flat on the back. Okay, so we have gone ahead and ironed it flat. Took me all of 2 minutes to do it. Backing has been ironed flat, and this is what it looks like now. Just one big piece of fabric. So we are now ready to sandwich the quilt. So thank you for joining me today. I hope you liked this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. If you have questions, please leave them down in the comment section. And you can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. I actually have a Facebook business page there. And I also have a Facebook group that you are welcome to join. You can follow my blog at craftyauthor.com. And I will see you in a few minutes on the next episode when we learn how to sandwich the quilt. I'll see you then. Bye-bye.